Good evening, everybody, and what is up? Welcome back to Gone Diggin live from the Relic room. Absolutely excited to have everybody here hanging out with us on a Monday evening. It's our normal third Monday live stream. Generally, we do it on Tuesdays, but every so often we do it on a Monday night. First in the chat this evening, J Mart, hello, New Hampshire Beach Metal Detecting. Cliff, Jamie Henley made it on time. First time in Jamie's entire life he's ever made it anywhere the same time he was supposed to be there. So ASAP Fishing 1, hello. Longest Howl, how are you, my friend? Flash in your pen, Punching Plug CF, North Jersey Detector. We dig metal detecting. It's Dave's birthday. Everybody reach down there and say, happy birthday, Dave. He turned a whopping 29 years old today. That may be a stretch, but Dave will appreciate it. Frankie, what's up, my friend? And we got 24 in the Greg Knuckles, Brotherhood Metal Detecting. Awesome stuff. So we've got some great stuff, but before we get to that, I wanted to share a couple things I found over the last few days. I think you guys will appreciate this addition to the Relic room. I found this. So I know what you're saying. You're saying, Matt, that's a piece of coral. Well, this piece of coral was laying in the bottom of a 1750s era home site. So I wish this piece of coral could tell me how it got there and whose hands it passed through to be passed around during colonial times. So really cool piece, and it's going to go right back here in one of these cases. So that's kind of my week. I hope everybody else had a good week. Our guest this evening, I know he had a good week. He knocked off another silver off his list. And I'm really excited to talk to him about that. So we'll go ahead and bring in Shawn. Let's see if we can slide in. There we go, Shawn. How are we doing, man?
What's up, bud? I'm doing great.
So I didn't give you much introduction because I don't think you need much introduction. But so Shawn is a White's field team member, an avid metal detectorist, and a great dude. I've got to hang out at DIV with him, and absolutely a fun time. But so let's start at the beginning, man. How long have you been digging?
Started about probably, I'm going to guess probably about 94-ish, 95. I was stationed in California. Bought a little cheap bounty hunter from Radio Shack and started tootling around. There was an old park and a beach volleyball area down by my comm shop, and I kind of hit that. And my first big silver coin was a Mexican peso from like 1934 or 6, something like that. I still have it. So
that's cool, man. So you started out in California and and you live on the East Coast now, right?
Yes.
So, and I mean, for a lot of, I guess, it's interesting because, some of our guests have just started. Other folks have been doing it. I mean, you're knocking down 25 years this year, right?
Yep.
So
I've been really hot and heavy in it since 2016, though. Like, as far as big time, end of 2016 is when I really started putting full effort in it. So was it obviously life and work and moving and stuff to get from California to the East Coast is a struggle in its own right. What was it always something that was there, or did it just kind of ebbed and flowed when you had time? Yeah, my great-grandfather was a treasure hunter himself, and he would go all over looking for those legendary treasure-type places, and he'd had maps and, clues and hints and things like that he would do, and I was too young to really know him or pick his brain to get some information, unfortunately. But anyway, that's how I kind of started. My grandma used to tell me stories about him, and so I kind of started thinking, metal detecting once I started hearing about metal detectors, and I was like, that'd be an easy way to find things that are under the ground without having to do a lot of distant traveling and following a bunch of old historic maps and not knowing where things are and legendary treasures, kind of thing. So
that's pretty neat, man. I mean, like, there's not a lot of people who are into those, like, what is it, like the Lost Dutchman silver mine, or
yeah.
So your grandfather was into that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So, I mean, and was that like an inspiration? Like, man, that's cool. Like, even though you didn't have the opportunity to like pick his brain, I mean, I think we all sort of have some sort of mentors,
Yeah. Yeah, that pretty much, just the stories, like I said, that my grandma would tell me and things that he would find. Like, he would go nugget hunting out in, like, Arizona and things like that. He'd go pan for gold. And so that was always kind of something that I would want to try to do maybe one day. So when metal detecting got into that, I was like, well, shoot, I can use a machine to try to find the same thing that people are using to pan for it, in a sense. So I kind of started like that, thinking I could maybe get a metal detector and go out and try to find some nuggets. Well, of course, I never got that opportunity, so I was stationed in California, more on San Diego, Camp Pendleton area, and so just kind of stayed around the beach area, which everybody knows a bounty hunter on the beach isn't that good, so didn't really walk away with much, but like I said, I did find my first silver ring, and my first silver coin was at my little volleyball on aboard my camp that I was at Camp Pendleton. And that's kind of what got me hooked when I dug those two things up in the same hole. So
yeah, you know what? That's cool though, because people want to down cheap machines, right? They want to say, don't go buy a cheap machine, but a cheap machine is what people can afford, and it's what what got you into the hobby.
Exactly.
Yep. And I think that's pretty neat. So in the ebbs and flows of moving around, so so you found your first ring, your first silver coin. How many other states have you dug in? Obviously you did some military service
I grew up in Arkansas, so I've done it in Arkansas, I've done it in Texas. I lived in Oklahoma before I moved out here in 2016 for almost 20 years, from 98 till 2016. And I've done a little bit out there, but like I said, between Virginia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, that's been my three primary since 2016 that I've gone out to so far. And Florida. I've been to Florida too. And the Bahamas.
Well, so man, you've kind of hit a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
so you just I will skip that. We'll go back to that. Okay. So if anybody has a question or comment, let's go ahead, throw it at my name, or Shawn will put his name in there in the chat, so you guys can say hi. And if you have a question, highlight their names, and we'll try to get to them. So that's really neat, man, and that's a cool story. So fast forward to 2016, So life changed, and you came back to being able to dig more than you used to, right?
Yes.
So when you went back into metal detecting, so did you still have your bounty hunter, or did you move into something else?
I actually had a White's MXT All Pro at the time, and I probably took it out 20 times in about 4.5 years that I had it. So I didn't get much time on it because I was in a very controlling relationship, so to speak.
Sure.
So I didn't get to do much at that time, and so when I broke free from that bondage, so to speak, I guess, I hit it hard out in 2016 and 2017 out here in North Carolina, and meeting a lot of people and getting into some group hunts and just getting out there and start doing it more often. So
and you went hardcore from basically going out 20 or 30 times over the period of 5 or 6 years to almost digging every day, right?
Because my work schedule at the time when I was working for Verizon was I'd work from 6 to 2. So at 2 o'clock, I'm out the doors. Maybe 1:30, I'm already dressed, ready to go. So I don't know what you did, but were you using that work connection to find new places to go? Sometimes, but I'd also use my Marine Corps background, and then just trying to, promote the hobby, promote my product of machine that I was using to people that didn't know what metal detecting was or had a clue of some sort of what metal detecting was, but didn't know about the newer machines that were out and stuff. And then, of course, in 2018, when I got the sponsorship from White's, then I was really pushing the White's logo and the White's product and things like that for my own benefit at the beginning, just to try to help myself out. And then now I'm doing it for White's. So.
Right. So right on. And obviously, I mean, for somebody who's receiving a sponsorship from them, you had to be invested in their product to begin with before you could ever consider, backing their stuff. Yeah, what was it about the White's machines that made you want to support what they did? Or they do?
90% of it is the White's name itself. I've always been around the White's product, as far as I've always wanted even the older White's back whenever I can remember, the big black boxes. That's what drew me to the MXT at the beginning, because I remember the older machines and I knew they were a good brand and a good machine itself. One thing is they're American made. Number two is they're veteran supporting, and so with me being a veteran, I was like, well, I definitely want to go with White's. And I didn't know many of the other names at that time. I was kind of new at all the other names and stuff. So I just stuck with what I knew and knew what I grew up with and around, which was White's. So
yeah, that's interesting. When I first started getting into the metal detecting scene, when I was looking to purchase my first one, everything I always saw was the MXT, the DFX, and then there was another White's that was hugely popular at the time.
Yeah.
And
probably the V3i.
V3i, very top of the spectrum for what I was looking at that time. But it's interesting. I like the fact that you were big into who they were as a company, and that's how you chose you were going to support them. That's a lot of risk that some people don't take, or a lot of research. People don't really pay attention to what their companies that they're supporting on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, whatever, how they actually treat their folks.
Exactly.
So,
and their customer service was amazing. Every time I had an issue with anything, if I'd called them up, they were so helpful, so nice, so respectful, and how can I help you? What can I do? And so that, and really, even when I had my MXT All Pro, I had an issue, and I remember calling in before I even knew anybody at White's. I mean, it was, so just my customer experience with them, customer service experience with them was outstanding, and always has been.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I really like that aspect. When you get a company, we know the companies out there that do bad customer service or have a rep for bad customer service. We don't have to talk about them, but we all know who they are. So it makes it much easier to stand behind and support somebody who does have the values that you believe in. So as you really got into it, how did you focus your efforts? Like, were you focusing on big farms? Were you focusing on houses? We talked a little bit about this, hanging out, and really not hanging out, drinking beers, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. It was good.
But, how did you get into, one, people know you for absolutely crushing silver coins all the time, and let's be honest, some of them aren't the oldest, but on the other side, who cares, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a niche, and I love it. I mean, when I dig a silver, I don't care if it's a Rosie, a Merc, a Barber, a silver ring. I don't care. I'm gonna do a live video just to show it off, because I love silver. I love it when I find silver, and I love it even more when I snag a gold something out there that pops up every now and then. So
yeah, that's cool, man. Who cares? And man, I think that's the best part about this hobby too, is it doesn't matter if you love digging aluminum cans. If you're having fun, who cares? Who is anybody else to say that you're not doing it right?
Exactly. The way I come across is I try to be just your average person out digging, and I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying the outdoors. I'm enjoying the company that I'm with, whether it be another buddy or my girlfriend, whoever it is, or I'm meeting the new homeowners and permissions. And I'm just your average Joe out there digging holes in someone's yard. That's kind of the way I like to portray myself. So
yeah, and that's cool, man. I mean, and that's part of what I like about your videos. If you guys haven't seen Shawn's Facebook page, go over and check it out. He posts pretty much a silver coin every time he goes digging. I'm going to say a couple shout-outs. Huntress, Kimmy, and Clodhopper Scott from the UK are here hanging out. My friend Scott, Mental Metal, is obviously at the bowling alley. If you guys know Scott, you know what that means. Diggin with Deej, what is going on? Nice to see you, Deej. Crispy Kiwi Adventures, Dig Dug. All kinds of great people here hanging out on a Monday night.
Frankie.
What's that?
Oh, Frankie.
Oh, yeah, Frankie. Frankie hanging out there too as well. Nope. Son isn't home. All DSL. Right on, buddy. Oh, Uper Digger's here too. So
he did ask a question up there.
Yeah. So he said, "What's your oldest silver?" Is that what you asked?
Yep.
Oldest coin find. I'm curious. I know y'all kill silver.
I think it's my 1952 Trime. I do have a seated dime, but it's my Trime. I think it's older than my seated.
Oh, seated silver or silver coin. Mm-hmm. What's your oldest coin in general?
It's going to be one of my mini large cents that I've got because I got a KG too, so that one's older than those. That's probably my oldest copper.
Oh. So, Dirt Dickler said he dug some can saw the other day and was unhappy he didn't get any pull tabs. So, yeah, I think he did misspoke. He did mean 1852. Yeah. So that's cool. So getting back into the permission, like what you target. So you do have a couple big farms, and how is it getting permission to a big farm versus getting permission to, say, a 1940s, typical American home?
I go about it the same way. I mean, I go about it the same way other than, of course, a plowed farm is a lot easier to persuade because you're not in their yard, you're not in their space, you're kind of out by yourself in the open. But, I mean, I introduce myself, I tell them what I'm doing, what I do for a hobby. And I tell them kind of semi what I'm looking for as far as I go over little things and give them my business card and tell them I show them everything that I find, and they're welcome to keep anything. If for sure, if anything ties back to the history of their family, because a lot of times I've got some family generational type areas that I go to, even some old houses that go back to their great-great-grandfather or grandmother or something. I've got one case over here is nothing but from I've got a Ballantine dairy farm that's just right down the road from where I live. And I never in a million years would have even thought that I would have found as much as I found in that 1 yard and I've probably been there 10 or 15 times. And my number 13 coin was a silver Washington quarter that I must have walked over many times. Didn't even expect to find it the other day, last week, whenever I pulled it out. So it was just
that's
crazy.
Cool, man. And I think that's very commendable, the fact that you were, you consider family stuff. I had a family that they knew that the Vaughns lived in this house in the 1800s. Well, every spoon I dug had a V on it. Apparently the Vaughns didn't like their spoons and lost them in their yard.
Oh, wow.
So I gave all of them to the landowner. I think that's neat. I think sometimes you get people go, "Oh man, you're just pillaging the history off these places." But not really. I mean, if it means more to you than it does to me, you can have it.
I mean, a lot of people don't even care what you find. Like, we show them. I've had so many homeowners that just want to see it, and that's all they care. They don't even care to have it or want to take it back. They just want to know what you found. They're curious, but they don't want it. I mean, it's neat.
So have you ever run across the homeowner that said, "Yep, I'll take all that"?
I had one that took a couple of items, but luckily I didn't find any silver that day, so I wasn't too discouraged. So I think I had found some Wheaties and I think a buffalo nickel, and they took those, but like I said, it wasn't no big loss. So
right. Have you ever knocked on a door or permission and somebody said, "I want everything"? How would you still dig there, or would you pull back and say, maybe that's not for me?
I really haven't had that. I mean, I've had a person that will say we'll split it. I had one guy that was hilarious, and he knew the show Diggers, of course. So he was like in his 80s, and so he was walking around with us, and me and Dean McDowell, a buddy of mine that I've metal detected with a lot, we were in his backyard, and I pulled my very first peace dollar right in front of him. And he told us at the very beginning, because if you find any gold, it's mine, but he never said anything about silver. And so I pulled this 1922, I think, peace dollar right in front of him. And so I called Dean over, and about 10 minutes later, I dig my first walking Liberty half less than 7 feet away from him, from that where I just dug the peace dollar. And so I called Dean again over, and this guy was like, man, I wish I'd have said silver too. And so he was joking around with us on the video, and he took the peace dollar like he was going to keep it, but he ended up giving it right back. But he was a good guy. He was fun. He was like living that TV show through us. It was neat. So
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, like, everybody has their mixed opinions of those TV shows, but yeah, they certainly, even if you hate them, they certainly open the hobby up to a broader audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. Dirt Diggler asked, have you ever been kicked off of permission or had a permission rescinded?
Yeah, I've had a few. We were going up to Virginia, and a couple of guys and I were digging, and the guy had to leave, and so I was driving home, and I door knocked. Went back to got to the lady, told her what I was doing. She said, oh yeah, no problem. I started digging, and all of a sudden her grandson and his girlfriend or wife pulls up, and he walks out to me and starts talking to me, and I just dug a mercury dime. And in my video I did getting number whatever it was, the hard way is what I posted it as. And I explained in the truck as I'm driving off, because I showed him what I had, and he didn't want it, but he told me I had to leave. And he said, yeah, my grandma called and said she didn't want you digging in her yard. And I was like, she gave me permission. So I was trying to figure out what the heck's going on, you know. And he goes, I don't know. She just called me and said she wants you to pound sand. And that was her words to him. And I was like, well, I apologize, you know. And I said, she gave me permission. And so I loaded up and took off, and I got in the truck and did a live video as I'm driving off saying got number whatever the hard way, and explained what was going on.
So, and that's funny, man. Like, she couldn't have just walked. I mean, obviously, if you were nice enough to ask, she could have walked out of the door and said, hey, I changed my mind, and you probably would have been just as cool, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, she was nice, but she gave me permission. She came to the back door, and she took my card, and we carried on a little conversation. I told her what I was going to do. I was going to dig a little plug, and she was like, okay, no big deal. Go find whatever you want to find. And it's like, maybe she had a mental thing or something and just forgot, like maybe Alzheimer's or something. I don't know. Dementia, something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a real possibility, man. I mean, you know, and then there's other part of people just change their mind, and that's okay too, you know. It's, be respectful of their place, but it still kind of trips you out whenever that happens.
Well, I hadn't dug anything all day, and then I finally landed on a nice yard. It had two sides, had the nice, pretty sidewalk going down the front of it, and I'd only done the one side. I hadn't even got to the other side yet, and I already dug a silver mercury dime and a bunch of Wheaties, and so I couldn't wait to get on the other side, and I lost my opportunity. So,
yeah. So somebody else popped in the chat. NC Diggins, Mr. Tyler, what's going on? The muddiest man to walk through the woods I've ever seen.
That was some tough digging for sure.
Yeah. So, Virginia Metal Detecting, did I get your message on Instagram? No, but I will look in a little bit. So moving on from those permissions. So the last few years you've actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's check this out. So I've got this real technology-based thing here, and boom, look at that.
There they are. That's the Peace Dollar and the Walking Liberty that I was just talking about, actually.
So, and you found both of those in the same hole?
And they were 7 feet away from each other, and in a 5-week span, I dug those two plus 3 barber halves in 5 weeks.
In the same spot?
No, four coins were in the same town. Yeah.
Man, that is crazy. Dude, I found 2 barber halves, and it happened to me kind of the same way. We're going to see if this thing will play. It may or may not. Slideshow settings. But it happened the same way. Let's do quick play. I don't know. We're going to get it to work. There. Oh, there we go. Oh, I just dropped your audio all at the same time. Hold on. There we go. Let's go to number 2. How about now?
Yep, that's my first Civil War bullet on the far right that I ever dug, and that was dug at Dorothea Dix in Raleigh.
So
there you go. There's my good ring day.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of talk about these as we went through them. So you say you find the occasional gold, right? But tell me the story of this.
That was a pretty nice day. I hit someplace. I can't go into details because of secrecy on it. But I managed to score 4 gold rings and that gold-plated silver earring.
Wow. No, I don't want you to give up any things like that because I think we all have those spots that are like,
oh yeah,
super secret. Let's see if we get the next one to pop up. There you go.
Oh yeah, that is at the same house that I got my Masonic ring that I recovered for the lady that I was in American Digger with it. If I can get it, there you go.
Yeah, so tell me about that story.
The lady was about 85 years old. Her husband passed away about 3 years ago, but he lost the ring about 5 years ago. And I'd been there, went there one day, and my son and I, and it was a thunderstorm was coming in. And so I had to call it quits kind of early. And I went up there and talked to her and I said, do you mind if I came back another day because there was a storm coming in? And she goes, oh, yeah, absolutely. And she goes, when you come back, maybe you can find my husband's Masonic ring. And so I was like, oh, really? And she goes, yeah. So it took me 3 more times going back, and I finally found it. And I did a live video of her. I popped it out of the plug, and it was up along the road where out here they do a bunch of, like if you got leaves or limbs, you can pile them up next to the road, and the guy will come by and take them up. Well, about 3 feet from that spot where they always do it is where this ring was, and it was only about 2.5 inches down. I popped the plug and saw the bottom of the gold right in the dirt. And I went to go get Miss Keith, and she came out, and I let her be the first one to touch it. I never even touched it. So I let her touch it out of the plug. And after my video, I said, just think, you were the first person to touch that ring since your husband lost it. And she started crying at the end.
Oh, my gosh. That's incredible, man. That's a cool story I completely get it why anybody would want to cover that. You know? I mean, that kind of gave me chill bumps, man. That's awesome, and I think that's another stand-up thing to do. Me and Jamie Henley have a place that this lady is probably in her 90s, and she said, well, I lost the gold ring out in my flower beds, but we found so much cool stuff, but man, it's so hard to find that one ring.
Yeah. Gold is not an easy target.
Did you lose hope that you maybe wouldn't find it?
Dude, I was digging every foil, pull tab, nickel. I even changed my settings where I blocked out even silver just strictly so I could find. I just wanted to hear that certain gold range, and that's all I wanted to hear. So when it popped, when you hit it, did you know that's what it was? No, that's actually a funny story because I was using my 13-inch coil, which is big anyway, and I'm sitting there right on the edge of the thing, and I stopped to take a break, and I laid my machine, the coil down, and I propped up the machine on my shovel. And I was doing something with my glove. I was checking my phone or something, and as I went to pick it back up, I heard a beep, beep, and it was 2426 VDI. And I was like, surely not. So I reached down and popped it up, and sure enough, that's where the gold ring was. My coil was set right on it. I stopped and took a break and laid my coil right dead center, like right where the pinpoint would be and everything is where my coil was setting. Wow. It was meant to be.
Wow, that's absolutely awesome. Awesome stuff. Another quick shout out to some folks in the chat. My friends over at Canadian Drone Hub are here. So awesome for you guys to stop by. Thanks for coming by and showing some support. They do an incredible live stream, and I'm a drone nerd now too. So Canadian Drone Hub, the best live streamers there were ever to stream. So there you go. Coils of Soul Jim, and maybe you can relate to a little bit of this. Colonial Fiend asked, who gave a thumbs down? and that was actually pre-show. So, you know, I think there's all kinds of haters in this world, whether it's metal detecting or you have a fast car or you drive a nice house or whatever it is. So, you know, that's what they're going to do. But then you have fantastic people like my friend New Hampshire Beach Metal Detecting, who's one of the biggest supporters of this channel. Thank you so much, my friend. It means the world to me. So that's a complete different sidebar, and I'm glad you're here for it, because I think we've all kind of experienced a little bit of drama in the metal detecting world. Not singling you out, but certainly myself. So let's go back to that. So that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that was my first silver thimble there.
So this is a pretty big group shot. It's got a lot of different stuff, and it's blocking both their faces. But what's the button there in the center?
Button in the center. That's my North Carolina post-Civil War button that I actually found with Tyler McGee.
Right on. So, and you have a lot of different stuff from Civil War buttons in that picture. And we're going to slide on past this one. There's a really cool Confederate sword hanger in there.
Yep.
There you go. So, is this an entire year? What kind of time span are you finding this kind of silver?
That was at the end of 2018, if I remember. Let me look here.
So that's
some of that goes from 2016, 2017, and 2018.
So, a lot of effort and a lot of holes.
Oh yeah.
It's I mean, that's awesome, man. Like, that amount of silver is just phenomenal. Plus, I mean, you can see up there you have some gold rings in there. What is so talking about silver coins is, do you have like that silver coin that you thought you should have found, or that item that people call their white whale, something that you expected to have found by now but you just haven't?
I have been around some half dimes found within inches from me, and so that's one of probably my white whales that I cannot wait to get.
A half dime. Okay. That's cool. I think everybody has that sort of one item that they think they should have found. You know, I feel like I should have found a Georgia button by now.
I like to get on some sites like that for sure.
You know, talk to me about this badge that's up on the screen.
That is a chauffeur's badge. That's a North Carolina chauffeur's tag license, whatever they call them here, and that actually won me won a prize in my group, in my monthly group that I have out here. I think it won me a silver quarter for the relic of the month. So
more silver to go on top of silver.
Yep, exactly. Another item, get me a silver. There's awesome. A private pup.
Yeah, so talk to me about this little guy. This is I've seen Jamie talking about it. So this is your son, right?
Yes, it is. That's Kai, little Kai.
And you've gotten him into metal detecting, huh?
Yes, I did.
How does he do? I mean, like,
he does pretty good at that dairy farm. He actually dug his first silver, a 1956 Rosie. So I went live on that, and he made the same American Digger issue as my Masonic ring for him finding his silver ring. He's in this last issue of American Digger,
which I saw, which is absolutely awesome. It's a great photo, and it's like him holding it up. So how often do you guys get to go out and dig?
I try to get him out about every weekend, depending on the weather. If it's too cold or too hot, and he don't last very long. He likes to play and do other things, but I'm trying to teach him. I was like, because he wants to get metal, and I was like, well, you got to metal detect to get metal. You got to dig holes to get metal, and so he wants me to dig it up and him give it to him. So
I was going to ask what was his attention span, but probably, I mean, I think we probably got it. So that's really cool, man. I love seeing that. And I'm sure there's a lot a lot of folks that enjoy that as well. Let's see what we got for one last one. So
there we go.
That's a good one.
That happened just at within like 10 days of 2019. I found both of those within a block from each other, the 2 silver rings.
Oh, and they weren't even related to like a Boy Scout camp or any of that stuff?
No, these were in yards. The 2 pendants and the ring on the right were in the same yard, and the ring on the left was just down the road from that one.
Oh, wow. That's cool, man. That is super neat. And do you like have a time period of those?
I don't know how to date Boy Scout or Cub Scout type items, so the rings are totally different. As you can tell, one's got a rope siding. My favorite one's the oval one, which is the one on the left.
Yeah, that thing's really neat.
Yeah, I actually won another silver coin for that one. So in my group, so
that's really cool. So are you a member of a club, or is it a Facebook group, or?
Yeah, it's a membership only club. They have a Facebook. The only way to get access to their Facebook page is you have to be a member of the Triangle Relic Recovery that's here in Raleigh area. So. Very
cool. So, and that's neat. So, like, maybe you could talk about that. Like, is it some of those groups can be pretty tight, close knit. Some of them are more open. Obviously, it sounds like you have a little more.
It's a close knit one. It's only like a member of like 36 people total in the group, and they have the exclusive. If they're a paying member, the $25 membership fee, then they get access to the Facebook page and all the group hunts and things like that. So
that's cool. So that allows you to do, like, do you share research or?
A little bit. We meet each other. Like I've got a couple of guys that I hang out with that we go detecting. They're in the group, and we'll share sites. We'll share. One day they'll go with me. The next day I'll go with them, or something like. Next time I'll go with them and go to their permission, and they'll go to my permission, or we'll just go door knocking together or something.
Right, and that's a pretty neat idea. I think that you could really lay the ground rules for what's. Everybody talks about the metal detecting code of ethics, but. It's not really, it's more of a moral standard, but you could really lay down the ground rules if you have a group like that, and say like, look, here's the deal. We don't know each other that well, but it's a much easier way to get to know everybody.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat. So you started. Let's move over in some of the white stuff. So you started doing your Facebook and kind of promoting whites, and did they approach you, or was it something that you don't have to give away any secrets or any of that stuff?
No, actually, whites is very secretive when it comes to who they're looking at as for anything. They don't advertise it that they're looking. They don't do anything, and they're very, very discreet about what they do. They're very professional in what they do. They do their homework. They do their checking. They watch your posts, they watch your videos, they watch what you're finding, they watch how you're interacting on Facebook before they ever even think about pulling the trigger. And I had asked a long time ago if I could use the Whites logo, and I was given the okay through a couple of the bigwigs at Whites. And so that kind of put my foot in the door, I guess, so to speak. And then Melissa Wise is the person who I reached out to, not even knowing that she had any say in the Whites field team. And I asked her for permission one time about the Whites logo again on something else. And she gave me permission, and I said, if there's ever a chance of a Whites field team spot opening, I would be interested if you know anybody that can, lead and guide me to, getting accepted. And I had spoken to Dominique and DJ Yost, who's, prominent in the Whites field team. And on the side, and me and DJ has gotten really close. He's helped me out with the MX Sport when I first got it. He was giving me the hints and tricks on how to set it up and get it going, and I've pretty much been rocking and rolling from then after what he helped me with. And so one day, DJ called me out of the blue. He messaged me first. He said, "Hey, are you busy?" And I said, "No." He said, "Give me a call whenever you get a second." So I called him up. And he goes, "Well, I think I already know the answer to this, but how would you like to be a member of the Whites field team?" And of course, I went, "Hell yeah!" I was like, "Yeah, I've been working my butt off for this, trying to, because I didn't want to go to any other vendor. I was not even in the market to even look at another vendor. I wanted Whites, and I set my eyes on that. I told all my buddies that I metal detect with, and I didn't care if they liked it or didn't like it. That's what my goal was to to sponsor and support Whites, and then hopefully eventually be sponsored by Whites. And I followed through with my goal and my dreams, and I got it. And I thank Whites every day for it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, hard work for something like that. I mean, you know, it's not something that you just show up one day and somebody goes, "Oh, hey, here's our metal detectors. Go do that." You know, it's I mean, it really is hard work to make that happen. You know, so Missouri Mike actually asked, so what machines are you currently digging with?
Mostly I use the MX Sport, of course. I have taken the TDI SL Beach Hunter. I went to the Bahamas. I only got one day in. The second day I was going to go, there was a big thunderstorm coming in, and I didn't want to get out in the ocean with it and having to deal with it and trying to get back to the ship. But I wish I had, because I had kind of tweaked my settings, and I was right on cue of where I needed to be to start finding some stuff. And I kind of kicked myself in the butt that I didn't just go out there and go do it during the rain, but oh well. So I currently own the TDI Beach Hunter, I own the TDI SL, and I own two MX Sports. One is mine and one's my girlfriend's. But I pretty much use both of them because I keep a 13-inch on one and a 7-inch on the other one at all times. So
nice. So you have multiple coils for different situations depending on what you're in.
Yep.
That's cool. So, and I've never used a pulse machine at the beach, but I've always wanted to. Once you figure your settings down, I mean, that thing should be rocking on depth, right?
Oh yeah. I didn't know at the time, and I reached out to the guys on the Whites field team, and I tweaked it a little bit, and I tried this and I tried that, but I didn't fine tune it in time. I had already hit the beach, and I'd already wasted a day on not doing it correctly, and I wish I had found out before I went out there. But you're supposed to, from what there's one guy with a YouTube video out there who's not even affiliated with Whites, but he was given a TDI-SL Beach Hunter to field test for this metal detecting sales company that's out wherever he's at. And he'd set it for no discrimination at all, like no ground balance is what he set it for, to where it was wide open. And he said you're going to get much more depth, and you'll be able to, and he said set the gain real low, like between 5 and 10, and he said that'll enable you to get the small pieces of gold and stuff. And so I wish I'd have known that, because I had mine a little set up higher, and I had ground balance on when I was in the Bahamas. So
NH Beach Metal Detecting said he used an original White's Beach Hunter in the 90s, and it was a great PI beach machine. You know, I think that for a lot of people that pulse induction machines, they're not an easy machine to use.
No, they're not.
Just in general, soil conditions change. So many factors go into it. It's tough, man. It is tough. It's not like, I mean, your MX Sport, I mean, you're right on the point with that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I know that thing pretty good inside and out, but any PI for me is just because it's all sound. It's not, there's no visual. It's all going by what you're hearing in your ears, and that's it. So it's tough. I would love to be better, more proficient, and I guess so much of it we use. You know, I bet the old guys who never had VDIs or displays, they would probably could pick up a pulse machine and go out and swing it and be fine, because they're not used to looking at those displays. Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So, do you so talk to me a little bit about the MX Sport. I know that the Whites had a little bit of trouble when they first came out of it with some leaking units and stuff like that, which they've since fixed. What's your experience with the MX Sport, and how are you setting it up? What do you like about it? If there's any tweaks somebody can use.
In my area, and this is strictly, this is what I tell everybody. This is my settings for my area. Not everybody's going to be able to just plug in these settings where you're currently at, depending on where you're at, because your soil could be different, your conditions could be different. But I run 20 tones. I run coin and jewelry 95% of the time. Every now and then I'll switch to relic mode, but it's supposed to go deeper, but I know the sounds of coin and jewelry, and I can pull a relic, I can pull a silverware bullet, I can pull a button, I can pull a silver coin with coin and jewelry. So I'm very comfortable with coin and jewelry, 20 tones, because the 20 tones breaks up so much. Because if you got, they have a 2, 4, 8, and 20 is the levels of tones, and I'm not a big key on 2 solid tones or 4 solid tones. I like the sound of a foil. I like the sound of a pull tab. I like the sound of a quarter, a dime, a penny. They all have their own tones. And so the 20 tones not only gives you separation of an item when you're swinging the coil, but it gives you the sound separation, that there's a distinct sound of a silver coin that when you hit that sound, you know exactly it's going to be something probably silver or possibly like a wheat penny or something like that in that range. But I do reject volume as 0 because I don't hunt a lot of parks. And reject volume is for your iron, like to see if there's iron, or to test to see if you got like an old twist top, the old Coke twist tops that everybody hates. They ring up like a silver coin or a wheat penny a lot. If I'm in an area that has those, I'll bump my reject volume up to 30, 40, or 50. If I get the grunts, then I know it's probably a twist top, so I'll move on. But the curiosity that kills the cat is my big philosophy. I've got to know what it was, and my thinking is that did I just walk over a silver coin? Even though I heard a grunt, there could have been a nail next to it, and there's a silver quarter sitting right there. So I got to go back and dig it. And my slogan says "Dig it all, save some history," and I dig a lot of trash to get what I get.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely. Jim from Coils Do You Use said if they made a TDI waterproof, he would be all over it. So
they did. They
do, Jim. And in fact, when you go to DIV and it rains the entire time and it snows and it's nasty, what's a great machine to use?
TDI Beach Hunter.
The waterproof TDI.
Yep.
And you're not walking around with your GPX that is way too heavy, and you're like literally sitting in the control box in water puddles because the ground's so saturated. So, Iffy Signal says, what coils do you use? Do you use the...
I use the 13-inch, I use the 7-inch, and I have the 6-inch hockey puck. I do use the standard coil every now and then. I pretty much use all my coils on a location. Each coil does its own thing. So I have a 6-inch hockey puck that's concentric. So I have the snow cone effect where I'm going to be fine-tuned, digging, getting in between items. And then I've got the 7-inch double D, which I'm going to get 7-inch in diameter in that area. I have the 9.5 standard, and I have the 13-inch big coil, basically. And I'll hit a yard to get the extra depth with the 13 and the 9.5. Whereas the Sport is a deep penetrating machine anyway. I dug a Pepsi twist top in the middle of a field with my 7-inch coil at about 12 inches down.
Good gosh, man!
That was not even on very high sensitivity.
Thank you so much for your super chat. You wish our live streams were not on the same time slot on Tuesday. You watch more. I appreciate that. You're going to see for folks that are hanging out, we're going to be moving the live stream all over the place because of so many other things. But we're not going to be really consistent, so it's going to be important you ring that bell. That way you'll get notified every time we go live. But much props to that. So you want a high sensitivity when you use a small coil like that?
No, actually, I run my sensitivity about 5 to 6, 90% of the time, which is max is 1 to 10, 10 being the max. I'm running about half on my sensitivity. My threshold, I bump up to about 3, which gives me the extra depth. So I've been working with that. For the longest, for about a year and a half, I only ran threshold at 0. I never even bumped up my threshold because I wanted dead silence in my ear until I got a target.
I got you. So
now
when you're running your threshold, for some folks who don't, for me, on a lot of the machines, is that if I'm running my threshold so it's barely audible, and I don't know, I've never run an MX Sport. I'd love to play with one and give it a go. But for me, like on a GPX, if I hear what's called a threshold blank, where it comes around, cuts out for no reason, and comes back, and I go back and it's the same way the other direction, I know that's an ultra deep target. And I don't know if that's the same way for MX Sport.
I do get breaks, but a lot of times I'll get breaks on the items or the range that I have blocked out. So a lot of times when I'm in a yard, I'll block out VDI 0 through about 10. I know that's a small gold range, but that eliminates your 22 shells, that eliminates your foil, little pieces of foil like chewed bubble gum or pieces of gum foil that people throw out there. That eliminates all that garbage. And then what I'll do is I'll go back after I pounded the crap out of the yard. I'll go back and I'll take those discriminations off, and then I'll focus on those foil signals to see if by chance there's a gold ring, a low ringing up gold ring, not a the foil range gold rings. So.
Right, that makes sense. So you're being a little more selective and anybody can do this with any machine. You're being more selective in your first pass over top of an area you want to hunt, and really searching out some of those good targets, and then really coming back and slowing down and focusing on what those other targets may be.
Yep. And there was one day I think I did a post on it. I might have done a video on it. There was 4 coins in the hole. It was a BDI 70, which is normally a wheat penny, okay, on the MX Sport. I popped the plug and a mercury dime fell out, and I'm like, that's not a tone for a mercury dime. Mercury dime's 73 to 76, depending on the angle it's setting and stuff. So I went back over the hole, and I was still getting a BDI 70. Popped the plug again, and there was a war nickel sitting on top of a wheat penny. Got both of those out. Popped the plug back down, and I got a VDI 50 all of a sudden. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I popped the plug again, and there was a no cash value French token. And so the token was just right above the war nickel and the wheat penny, but the mercury dime must have been somewhere in that vicinity. That's why I was getting the VDI 70. When I got the mercury dime out, then it dropped down to VDI 50, and it was because of that token. It wasn't even seeing the war nickel and the wheat penny yet. I just happened by chance I found those two first before I found the token.
Which is an absolute great example of how targets mask other targets.
And that's why I dig it all.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And you're right, that's the only way you can do it is to dig it all. And then sometimes, even though you do that, you pray for a plow to come through that field and maybe move a nail 6 inches one way or 2 or 3 foot another way, so that that field will be brand new again. So that's really awesome stuff. Missouri Mike asked a question, but I'll let you. We'll leave that one alone in there, unless you want to answer that.
Yes, they did provide the TDI Beach Hunter, and anything in the future, if they want me to field test it, they will send me a machine. Yes, they will.
Right. So you're getting the field test stuff. So there's benefits and really cool benefits in it. If you could dig anywhere in the world without restriction, where would you go?
I would have to say probably a prominent Civil War battlefield would be probably my dream, just to see what's out there.
Civil War battlefield.
Actually, that or Europe. I would love to go to Europe and dig some ancient stuff.
If you had one condiment for the rest of your life, that's the only condiment you could use, what would that be?
Mustard.
Mustard. No ranch? Nope. No mayo?
Oh, no. No, mustard all the way.
Mustard. All right. I think that's about the last of my questions. Do you plan on doing any other organized hunts? I know we went and hung out at Diggin in Virginia.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be this weekend. I'm going to be in South Carolina at the South Carolina Dirt Diggers event that they're having this weekend. So I'll be down there with some guys.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So did you any other? I know we both had plans on doing all kinds of other stuff, but I guess maybe we'll see ourselves cross paths sometime soon. So no DIV for this spring, maybe in the fall?
Yeah, I messed up on that. I wasn't following the website close enough, so I missed my opportunity. I had a free spot. All I had to do was just say I was going, and I was there. So An automatic spot, not a free spot, but an automatic spot. So.
Well, that just means you have an automatic spot for the fall then.
Exactly.
So, very cool, very cool. Do you anything that you see coming from Whites in the next year people should look out for? Any new machines? I know you can't throw all that information out, but or anything that you're excited about in the next year?
Let's just say keep an eye on my videos. There's something big coming up. That's all I can say.
Okay.
I got something coming up that there's gonna be some videos coming up with something coming up. So.
Very cool. So that's a pretty good cliffhanger to leave on. If folks are in the chat and they hadn't bumped over to your Facebook page, where would they find you on the web?
Shawn, Sergeant Whitey, Sherrill is my Facebook. I have Instagram, which is Sergeant Whitey's Dirt Discoveries. I do have a YouTube channel. I don't have any videos up yet, but I am working on that. And then I have my personal finds page, which is everything that I found from the time I've started till present is my Sergeant Whitey's Dirt Discoveries Facebook page. And I'll add anybody that wants to join it. It's out there. So.
Cool. And all of that stuff can be found through the link in the description. Or you can drop it in there. Any of that cool stuff.
Okay.
So anybody else have any questions? We have a couple more minutes. But other than that, man, it's been great to hang out. I mean, we got to hang out at DIV. We had a great time. Shawn, Tyler, absolute. We had a blast hanging out with Jamie and Frankie and Bruce.
Yep.
So any sort of organized hunt, I'd like to do some other new organized hunts outside of Diggin in Virginia, but one thing at a time. I want to go to Texas. You should come to Colorado with me, and we'll go rush to the Rockies.
One thing I will throw out there, Whites is trying to work on a Come Dig with the Whites field team, and we are trying to come up with a good place that would be able to withhold 200 to 300 people possibly. So that's something that we are working on, is to come dig with the Whites field team. So
that is very cool. So come dig with the Whites field team. That is absolutely awesome.
And it won't be limited to just white swingers. Anybody can come. It's not prejudice on other vendors. So
awesome. So very cool, man. I'll tell you what, Frankie's got connections in Colorado. I bet you do, Frankie. Very cool. I would tell you what, Shawn, I'm going to slide you over to the side, and we're going to close this off, but don't go anywhere.
All right, bud. All right.
Oh, awesome. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Awesome. Very cool. So, still not there, huh? There we are. Yes. Technical difficulties. Poor stream setup on my bad. Bad thumbnails. I did it all wrong tonight, but despite all of that, we still had a great guest. Shawn is fantastic, dude. He's as genuine in his videos as he is in real life. Probably, I mean, he's the real deal. Go over to Facebook, check him out, give him some support, tell him you saw him here. He is a really cool dude. I'd like to thank everybody who stopped in on your Monday night to hang out with us. HD Shovel Ed, Flash in Your Pan, Coin Spader, mainly Digger, Dig for Life. There's all kinds of great folks here. I thank you guys for hanging out. Next Tuesday night we have Digging with Deej, and I have which is going to be fantastic. But we have another really great guest coming up after that. So, and the times, like I said, are going to be all over the place. But we are going to do a bunch of really cool guests and really kind of pump the channel up in the next few months. So, thank you guys. for everything. I hope everyone has a good night. Let's see what we can do here. And as always, if you don't give the chance or opportunity to go out and find some history, go out and make some history of your own. We'll see you next time. I'm Matt. This has gone Diggin live from the Relic Room.